emphasize that our major problem is energy security. Now,
energy security,
because energy, that inflation is a function of something. What something brought about inflation. So the first thing is security. The second one is energy security. So when we say security, you know that food generally is being produced, is being worked on by farmers. How many farmers have that confidence to go into the farm to actually work? You could see people from Benue, from Bauchi, from Kano, Kaduna. People cannot access their farmland, even in the southwest. So it becomes a process, and that's why I say it's a structural problem. So there must be adequate security for people to have that confidence to go into their farm. That's one. Number two, energy security. I can tell you, it is not enough to produce food. It is enough to also have access to transport that food to where it's supposed to be. So if you produce food in Bauchi, for instance, or in Kaduna, you need to take that food to Lagos. Do you know that the cost of the transportation is the problem? The problem is not the food, the produce itself. The problem is a 40-feet container from Kaduna or to Lagos, it may cost about 20 million. So who are they going to transfer that thing to? They have to transfer it to the consumer. And that's why the CNG that we are talking about must come to stay, not rhetorics, not only displaying of it. Because if a keke man was analyzing for me that if he is buying fuel for a day, he's going to expend 13,000 naira to buy fuel, to really do his businesses before he will now deliver, before he will now take his own profit. But if it is CNG, it will cost him only 3,000 naira. Look at the gap of 10,000, and that's for keke man. Look at Okada man. Look at the transport man. Look at bus that will contain people. So first thing we should look at is energy security. Now you have increased remove the fuel subsidy. It has made a lot of things go, very, very expensive. So for me, energy security should be prioritized. Because it resonates with a manufacturing sector, a farmer, a businessman, a household person. That's what is actually taking away everything. For you to move from your point of work to another place, to your home, how much actually go. It has even go beyond your salary. So let's look at an average civil servant who earns 30,000 naira. Can Nigeria of today, can you work anywhere in Abuja and 30,000 naira is enough for your transport in a month? The answer is no. So energy security should be prioritized.
Dr. From all you've said, one thing you have pointed towards is, problems around supply chain distribution and logistics as well. And that also brings to mind that this inflation just might be a cost push inflation. Do you agree with that, saying it's a cost push inflation?
When you say cost push inflation, yes, it's more of cost push inflation, because if you look at the supply chain you mentioned, what is even supply chain? It's a network between the point of manufacturing to the point of consumption. So what happened between that point of manufacturing to point of consumption is a problem. So manufacturers don't have issue producing, but manufacturers have issue distributing. Manufacturers have issue taking it to the doormat of the consumers, and it has to transfer that price. So supply chain needs to be prioritized. We need to look at that. Even President himself made mention that is declared state of emergency on food security. So if you have declared state of emergency on food security for the past 10 months, now has it reflect? Because it's supposed to reflect, because there must have been dry season farming, there must be irrigation, and cost of food would have reduced. But I can tell you, if at all we have produce here now, transportation is a problem. So for supply chain to be very, very adequate, there must be also a very, very fast approach to make sure that CNG is available everywhere, because it has come to stay. So, but it must be available, and that's why we also encourage federal government, please encourage private sector to come into it. Because if you are doing this, you are too slow. I wouldn't want to say this government is too slow in terms of implementation. In terms of removal of first subsidy, it was with the first sweep pronouncement. First subsidy is what? Gone. That pronouncement was a fiscal policy pronouncement. But the solution that will cushion the effect 1 year up till now, we don't have that cushion to resolve to be the absorber of this challenge. So government must prioritize energy security.
Indeed, Doctor. And one other area that came up repeatedly on a social media poll, and you also did mention, was, MSME development, that is micro, small and medium enterprise development. And like we all know, they are like the backbone of the Nigerian economy, over 40 million MSMEs as we currently speak. But let us speak to, successful interventions that we should expect should come, towards developing the MSME space? I say this because as we speak, monetary policy rate currently standing quite high, depriving MSMEs the opportunity of approaching their banks for loans, and a lot of other policies that have not been the favorable towards, MSME development. But let's hear from you, Doctor. When this plan is eventually released, what sort of intervention should, the federal government or the minister himself now, speaking of the person of Wale Edun, what sort of intervention should he prioritize towards growing the Nigerian MSME space? Right.
If you look at the MSME, they contributed over 50% to our GDP, and they employ over 85% of Nigeria. Because when you talk about agriculture, most people in agriculture still fall into that cohort